And with that, the 2025 NFL season is in the books, and all hail to our new conquering heroes, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champions, foiled the three-peat attempt from the Kansas City Chiefs. Welcome along once again, the Thin Long Podcast. I am, of course, the incomparable Shane Harris. Above me is sorry, I fell apart. The OG of the podcast, Mr. Oliver Butler Henderson, and my boy is above me instead of to my right, Mr. Philip Perrins. Gentlemen, what's going on? How's your week's been? Come on, let's get amongst it.
Hang on, whoa. Eagles won the Super Bowl. Damn, I was going to watch that.
You've had that joke in your pocket for a week, haven't you? Almost a week.
No, mate, literally about 5 minutes. Yeah, man, I'm good. New car, new job. Happy days, mate. Happy bloody days. How's you?
All right, but yeah, can't complain. Few things in the pack. Why is he looking all puzzled?
Yeah, no, you said the 2025 season. Have I missed a year?
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. 24, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
I can do the intro again if you want.
All right, then, let's roll it again.
I'm not doing it again. It's a long one. There's a long one this week. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, sound. Couple of things going on. I play guitar in a punk band now, which is amazing. Been 20-year ambition. Always wanted to play in a band, and hopefully, you know, it'll go somewhere. But I'm super pleased with that. Yeah, things are good. What? Taking 90 seconds. I tell everyone, but I'm happy with that. Mr. P, what's going on with you? Come on, bud.
I mean, I'm fine. I'm plodding along. We start for half term tomorrow, so I've only got 4 more lessons left until I get a very well-deserved break. I've discovered the benefits of drinking lemon balm tea. Have you ever had lemon balm tea?
No, but it works.
Yeah, it literally it's really nice and relaxing. It calms you down, and I can't say that I've had great sleep the last couple of nights, but I feel very, very zen. Considering that my beloved Newcastle United are in the FA Cup still and playing in the Cup final, and the 49ers haven't lost this week, so that's really, really beneficial. And the Kansas City Chiefs did a three-peat, so I'm over them. In fact, actually, in a few of my lessons this week, funny story, my form have won the best form in the house 4 weeks in a row now in terms of getting the most positive points with the least amount of negatives. So I told my lot when we got the certificate in assembly, saying that our EPP did what the Kansas City Chiefs couldn't do, and they three-peated.
I love that, boy. I love that.
Fair play. I am literally in the process of doing, because I forgot to add something in a minute. Yeah. How are we feeling? Did we manage to stay up for it? Were we able to stay up for it?
I stayed up until halfway through the third quarter, and that was out of choice because when the Eagles went 36 up, I literally went, jobs. I literally, unlike when the Patriots clawed back against the Falcons, I literally went, job's done. And I literally just went to bed. At no point, even in garbage time when they managed to get to 22, did I think the Chiefs were coming back. That was an appalling game from everybody in Kansas, and I loved it. You know
what? I done the same thing at halftime when they were I think it was, were they 24-0 up? I think it was 24-0 up at halftime, and cruising. The Eagles were. I was like, there's nothing else worth staying up for. The halftime show appeals to a certain group of people, not me. So yeah, I went to bed.
Well, that lot.
What's the noise? What was that noise? What was that? Don't know what that was.
We'll get to Kendrick in later on.
The only
Yeah,
Lamar
I
to be
mean,
in a Super Bowl. Ha ha ha. Cheers, baby.
yeah, I mean,
Oh! Before we do, we haven't addressed the elephant in the room. Where's Baby Hope?
on one knee.
What, Jesus Christ, that was quite mean. That was quite mean. The elephant in the room. Jesus Christ, guys.
Oh, you
Men's
know,
mental health awareness.
It's an expression, and you know it is. I love our boy. I tell him how beautiful he is every week. He knows this.
I know. Me and
Our beloved,
Mr. Perry's get a complexion.
What?
A complexion? That's like skin color.
Yeah, because you compliment, Baby Hope and how much you
Oh,
love
complex,
him.
you daft.
That's what I said.
A complexion, you said.
Oh, well, you know what I meant. Mate, it's Thursday night. I've just been shouting at kids for like pretty much 4.5 hours, including my own. So, yeah, I'm absolutely hoarse, mate.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying that. Parents does that. 5 days a week. 8 hours a day.
Yeah, but that's his job and he loves it. Sometimes.
It's true. I do love it.
Right. Let's go.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, he's probably if he is proposing tonight. Best luck, baby. We're all pulling for you.
Right. Let's talk about it. Obviously, the Chiefs absolutely dominated the Eagles absolutely dominated Chiefs with a 40-22 result. I mean, the score makes it a lot closer than it actually was. Jalen Hurts MVP. Viewership live in the US was 127.7 million. I haven't got the numbers for the whole lot. Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception for 221. Mahomes, 257 for 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. Hurts broke the record for rushing, which was his record from 2 years ago. Xavier Worthy with 157 yards, which is the most for a rookie in the Super Bowl, with 2 touchdowns as well. Josh Sweat, for me, is probably MVP, I think, personally, with 2.5 sacks for the Eagles. But let's not go on how bad the Chiefs were, because the Chiefs were shocking. They couldn't get anything going on offense. Let's praise that Eagles defense, Mr. Perrins.
Yeah, so what I found absolutely fascinating, and I picked this up long before the commentary did, how effective that Eagles defense were at containing and putting Mahomes under pressure. Now, they didn't blitz at all night, and yet they still almost managed to moonwalk through that O-line and put him under so much pressure that he looked like a lamb for a slaughter, or deer in the headlights for oncoming roadkill. He did not look comfortable at all throughout the entire game. And I mean, let's call it as it is. Mahomes had Mahomes moments this season, but he has not been a dominant player this season. And we can't say that the Chiefs' record was very flattering, because they still finished the season with 14-2, 15-2,
15-2, yeah.
15-2.
Yeah, they only lost 2 games. As opposed to like the Eagles 14-3, but they didn't look great at all that season. They just looked like that Eagles defense was just containing them. And I think that's maybe how a lot of defenses are going to look next year in terms of playing against Patrick Mahomes, because don't blitz him because he'll elude you, but give him enough time behind the pocket. And then that's where he seems to be making a lot of his mistakes. But at the same time, the amount of times he was getting hit, he wasn't even having the time in the pocket. So even without the blitz, that D-line was putting him under so much pressure the entire game. And it was just phenomenal. And again, putting up 22 points in garbage time when they pulled out their starters, it made that game a lot more, I guess. I think history will look back on that score a little bit more flattering than the actual game itself, because of those garbage time points. But at no point did Kansas look relatively in that game, even when it was 0-0.
No, I mean, right. I think I'm in the minority that actually really enjoyed that game. Not for the Chiefs capitulating and how bad it was. I mean, one of my favorite Super Bowls is the 13-3 win for the Patriots against the Rams.
That was a great game.
I'm a defensive player. I played defensive end. I love good defensive plays. The fact that Cooper DeJean had a pick 6 on his birthday for his first ever career interception on his birthday in the Super Bowl. Legendary. I mean, that lad was brilliant. He broke up.
White boy cornerbacks are making a big play in the NFL now. You know,
Yeah.
literally that is so like him just being not just like, you know, the white boy cornerback, but also having a great season, getting a pick six in the Super Bowl. Like I mean, I'd have to have a look at the NFL jerseys, like the best sellers for this week, but I would not be surprised if he's in the top 10.
No, I wouldn't either because he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And we've all seen the meme of the skinny white dude in the film. I can't remember the film off the top of my head. I can't remember. You're Mr. Media Mogul. I can't remember the film name off the top of my head.
Yeah,
Is
it Ryan Gosling in Remember the Titans?
No. No, it's not.
Because he was a liability at cornerback. That's why they had to put in Turk.
I think he played Penguin actually in one of the Batman franchise things. But yeah, anyway, Cooper DeJean, brilliant. Like I said, for me, Josh Sweat should have been MVP. He was absolutely outstanding. He really was. Even when he didn't get 2.5 sacks, the amount of pressure he put and made Mahomes literally run. Here's the reason why the second pick to Braun, because he literally moonwalked through the middle, as you said, and made Mahomes make that throw, because otherwise he's going to be a safety.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I agree with you. I think Deontay Sweat should have been MVP purely because I always think, like, with a quarterback getting the MVP in the Super Bowl, he almost has to be perfect, i.e. Steve Young in 1994. Like, you know...
No, he's got a point.
No, but hear me out. The most passing yards in the Super Bowl game.
Young, you know what
he scored the most passing touchdowns in an NFL game. He also got, in the Super Bowl game, he also got the most rushing yards in that game as well. So, like, in terms of like perfect plays, Steve Young, Super Bowl 1994 against the Chargers, that is the gold standard of quarterback MVPs. And I just think that, yes, Hurts played really well. But I think, like, throwing the interception, it kind of takes the glisten off it, and that's where I would look to other people around, i.e., say, like you said, Deontay Sweat. I think for a quarterback to get MVP, it has to be perfect.
Yeah. I mean, he led the team in QB hits, he led the team in sacks, he led the team for tackles for loss. Josh Sweat should have been MVP because he was perfect. He played absolute perfection. You know, Cooper DeJean, he had obviously his pick six. He had a couple of pass breakups as well. So he had 3 tackle solos, a couple of pass breakups, and the touchdown. He could have been MVP. But as you said, 9 times out of 10, the MVP award goes to
the quarterback.
Yeah. The only time I remember it going to, the last defensive player I remember it going to was Von Miller in Super Bowl 50.
Yeah.
That's the only time I can remember a defender getting the quarterback, getting to the MVP. Even bloody in that dry defensive game around Patriots, I'm sure it might have been actually Gronk or Julian Edelman who got MVP in that game.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like for someone that won 7 Super Bowls, Tom hasn't won as many MVPs as I thought he'd had. I think he's only won 3. And one of them was one of them was for Tampa Bay, which meant for the Patriots, he only got 2.
Yeah, so he won one against the Seahawks, so he gave the truck to Malcolm Butler. The other one, he would have won it if they'd have beaten the Eagles. He would have thrown over 500 yards with 4 touchdowns. He would have won MVP that game, but they gave it to Nick Foles.
Didn't he get Super Bowl MVP in his first Super Bowl in 2001?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that was his breakout when he put Drew Bledsoe to bed.
In more ways than one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Mr. Harris, over to you, my friend. What did you make of it, or the Eagles' defense, and then we'll slate the Chiefs because that's going to be fun.
It was a Nick Sirianni masterclass. It was. I mean, when's the last time you saw Mahomes get picked off twice? And the one to Cooper DeJean was a brilliant. Yeah, exactly, and was a fantastic pick. But the other one to Zach, I'm sure it was Zach Bourne.
Yeah,
and he was under pressure, and he had to get rid of it, and he threw it down the middle, probably looking for Kelsey. And then Zach Jones just took it. And boys, you remember that drive where Mahomes was sacked twice, and on the third down, that's when he got picked off. What an incredible drive! Have you ever seen anything like that? When was the last time you saw a drive like that? Against anybody, never mind the defending two-time Super Bowl champions. They got dominated. I mean, let's just look at the numbers. Jalen Hurts, 17 for 22, 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was picked off once, but by that, it was pretty much, too little, too late. Saquon, many people's pick for, MVP before the game began. 25 rushing attempts, limited to 57 yards. So you could see what the Chiefs were looking to do is neutralize the Eagles' run game. They did that, but it opened up their pass game a bit more. Because as I said, Jalen threw for 221. Yes, Mr. P.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And then even going into the game Sunday, I didn't think Saquon would get anywhere near MVP because it's very, very rare that a running back, and it's very not that a running back doesn't get MVP, but it's very rare that a star running back has a standout game in the Super Bowl. And this dates back to like the 80s with like Walter Payton and then going to like Roger Craig. It doesn't happen because defenses typically in the Super Bowl try and contain the run. Pass game is the pass game, but they do try and stop the run in the Super Bowl because it's all to do with taking the edge off both teams essentially. Because if you're nervous, the Super Bowl, you get the jitters. It's the biggest game ever. 120 odd million will watch the Super Bowl. You stop the run because that is normally their go-to for any offense. Christian McCaffrey didn't have a great Super Bowl last year. It's very rare that running backs have those standout star-studded games.
Broke 100 yards last year, though, didn't he?
Yeah, but still, that was still over the course of 4 quarters and extra time, or overtime. Sorry, but that's essentially what I'm trying to get to. They don't tend to have those superstar games, but he still carried the load. He still pass protected, which is something that I would never really associated with Saquon. But he was brilliant. If you watch some of the highlights. Back, especially focusing on the backfield, he is blocking for Jalen. He is taking on, defensive ends and outside linebackers. He is putting in the shift.
Yeah, he knows what it is for this team, and fair play to him. Right, 6 months ago he said I hated the Eagles, and now I'm love them and I've won the Super Bowl with them, and that was his words on the Jimmy Kimmel show.
Yeah,
is it Jimmy Kimmel, the Late Show? Yeah. Him and Jalen Hurts on it this week.
He's not the first, and he won't be the last to say that I hate a team, and then joins that team and ends up loving them. I.e., Richard Sherman, Jim McMahon. It's a tale as old as time. It's brilliant. So him to play against the Giants, and again, just like him coming, he turned 29 on Sunday.
28, I think he is actually.
Yeah. So he'd been bounced around the Giants. The Giants didn't want to keep him, which is ridiculous now in hindsight. And he lands in Philadelphia.
Jones instead.
Yeah, and he lands in Philadelphia. You're going to be RB1 next to Jalen Hurts, and his first season he literally carries them to the Super Bowl, and then does a shift in the Super Bowl without being a superstar diva. That is a phenomenal season for Saquon. And well deserved.
Completely. Right, let's flip the script. Let's talk about KC now. So we've shown against Tampa Bay when Tom Brady beat them in 21. They got Mahomes running around. They hardly blitzed in the same. They got Mahomes running around. Mahomes was poor that game. I think they racked up 6 points. Buffalo Bills got him running around this season. Didn't really blitz him. Eagles didn't really blitz him. They just made him run around and go, oh, chase me. And yet he's lost. And all 3 losses, the Bills kind of gave him the game as well. Okay, trying to keep him in the game as well. But 2 Super Bowl losses where he wasn't really blitzed and he was chased effectively. He wasn't able to be at his best. Is this the way to beat Mahomes?
Yes. I think part of Mahomes' aura, and this is kind of like when you hit a certain echelon in terms of being a quarterback, where you have this aura around you where either players want to break your legs or they're in awe of you, and it's kind of like a star-studded moment, like, oh my god, I'm about to play against Patrick Mahomes. And we see it in all forms of sports, where it's that psychological edge. And we saw it, Tom Brady, when people would play against Tom Brady, when people play against Peyton Manning, when people play against Brett Favre, Joe Montana. The list will go on and on and on. And Patrick Mahomes is this iteration of it as well. And I think you've got like half of that. Then you've also got like the Chiefs' almost arrogance on that offense as well, because they would be the first to in the media, they're not firing on all cylinders in the running game, the wide receivers game. They've got Travis Kelce, but don't worry, we've got Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes will save us. Patrick Mahomes. That's all I essentially heard from like the likes of Nick Wright all week running up to the Super Bowl. Like, the Chiefs aren't good at this, and this, but they have Patrick Mahomes and they have Andy Reid. That's literally what you heard. And I think being able to nullify that was phenomenal. And I think when you take a quarterback and they're knocked down a couple of levels, that affects the rest of the team. We've seen it before where like a quarterback will go down injured and it affects the whole team. One player destroys the morale of the rest of the 53 on the field that day. Patrick Mahomes being picked off so early, Patrick Mahomes being hit, thrown to the floor, it gets it going on both sides. Like the Eagles are like, oh, we can actually stop this guy today. He's not feeling it. We're feeling it. And the offense are going like, holy crap, like we can't stop them and Patrick can't stop them. And it's more that psychological aspect as well as the coaching aspect of it. And, I wouldn't say for the first half, the Eagles' game plan on either side of the ball was perfect, but they managed to contain Patrick Mahomes and kept him at a blank slate. And we saw this with Tampa as well, when that Tampa defense that year, they contained him, they let him run around. And, Tom Brady put on his Superman cape like we saw 6 times before that. And, he came in and it just felt like this time Patrick just wasn't there.
No. I mean, I suspect, especially been saying all season, that I really think that this Chiefs O-line is one of the worst ones.
Yep.
I've never seen Mahomes be put under so much pressure. And that's not just for the Super Bowl on Sunday, but throughout the season. They had the same issue going into when they played Tampa Bay, and they went to fixed it, and it okayed for a couple of years. And then this year they've just been shocking. This is one of the reasons why they've only had so many one-score game wins, is because the O-line is poor. I mean, the left tackle might as well be bloody a door.
Yeah.
Come on through, it's fine. An open door left open, it's that kind of thing. I know that Joe Tooney had to be moved from left guard to left tackle for the majority of the season because of injuries. But, he is one of the best left guards in the league, and yet he can't play left tackle. So where's the issue gone wrong there? Is it a coaching situation? Is it not having a good enough backup at left tackle? What's the situation down in that one? Pete?
I think it's got to be more of a personnel, purely because the Kansas City Chiefs is one of the few organizations in the NFL that doesn't seem to have a mass coaching exodus every year when the head coaching and other positions come up in the NFL. What happens in San Francisco, where there's an assistant coach that's doing really well, he's going to become head coach elsewhere. D'Amico, Salah, McDaniels, and that's really difficult, recruiting, implementing a new system, and then losing them a season later. We could say that arguably the same thing that happens in New England quite recently, where it's been firing. It's not been like a solid base. Whilst you look at Kansas, they don't ever really get hit. And I don't know whether or not it's because coaches automatically say, no, I actually quite like being on a winning team. I've got it quite cushy here. So that's when you look at either the personnel or going back onto the coaching aspect of it, coaches that have been there for too long. So they've got a very, very black and white type look at their own schemes and their own coaching. So it's one thing having, someone that's persistently always there for long periods of time. But I think the new blood aspect of it does pay a price, because you want somebody to come in and go, oh, what about if we tinker this to make it even better? And I think that's kind of where Kansas are now. I don't know if they're going to go into a mass decline, but maybe they have peaked with their 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. I mean, that's still amazing. But maybe this isn't the dynasty that everyone thought was going to go on and on and on and never die.
Definitely. Mr. Harris, you reacted.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. Boys, we said at during the season the Chiefs haven't looked convincing. Is it a case of good coaching that got them this far, or is it the Mahomes magic? I think it's good coaching, see, but I just think they come up against a stonewall pit bull in the Eagles who would not be denied and would not take no for an answer. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins. I'm a big fan of DeAndre Hopkins, but some people will say that he's a little bit past his prime. Baby Hope's opinion. I think they've had a cracking rookie year for Xavier Worthy as well. Boys, do you think there's any way back do you think they'll be in Super Bowl again next year?
No.
No.
I mean, I
no.
remember saying that. I remember this. We have this conversation with predictions, and we all said that this Chiefs team isn't as good as what it should be. They've not filled holes that they needed, yet they've still made the Super Bowl. They went 16, 17 games, winning 1-score games.
It's good coaching, but
got to be down to good coaching. Andy Reid is a Hall of Famer coach, 100%. It's 4 or 5 rings he's got now. He's one of the top coaches ever to be in this game. He's got to be there. Steve Spagnuolo is probably one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, if not the best defensive coordinator in the league. Yes, there's been a bit of luck.
I think so.
Hence the blocked field goal against Broncos. But is that luck?
Yes.
Or is it just really good coaching and knowing when they're going to run and when the kick and timing everything right? I think it's probably 70-30, where it is good coaching and 30% luck. Mr. Perry,
how about we go 60-30 and then 10% referees? Because I did also on the secondary thing as well. I brought up quite a lot how the referees seem to favour Kansas, and then when it started, I'm not saying that I was the reason why it trended. And when it started going over NFL Network, and I said this last week on the show as well, about it going around, people in the media and even the players are acknowledging that Kansas do get the rub of the green. It was actually really, really nice to see the referees actually be consistent, call the rules, and allow hits to be happened. Allow hits to be happened. Oh, the Chiefs are holding and doing and putting face masks. Oh my God, flags against the Chiefs. It was amazing to actually watch a fair game.
I mean, the flag on AJ Brown for the offensive pass interference, that was nowhere near a flag. That's one of the worst decisions I've seen in the Super Bowl for a long time. And, well, for 12 months. That pass interference for the field goal last year against you boys. No, Eagles 2 years ago, sorry. Eagles 2 years ago? Yeah. That slight pass interference defense. Yeah. And there was another suspicious call, and I can't remember what it was as well. He was on the Chiefs. You're going,
it was Jahan Dotson that we all thought was a touchdown, but it weren't. How many billions of people that watched this game, right, thought here we go again when that Jahan Dotson touchdown was called back? And I think there was something else as well. A call after that was a little sketchy, and I was like, here we go.
Well, I put on the when the AJ Brown called one, said, "Oh, that's the first one in already." I tweeted it out on Twitter, going, you just thought going, this is going to be, and I don't know if it's the Chiefs going right. Okay, yeah, you can understand why it was called, but it's one of those moments where that you don't need to throw that flag. It's one of those ones where, pick it up. It's not really a flag. It's one of those ones where there's a lot of hand fighting. It's not a push off. It's not any kind of grabbing the jersey. It's literally 2 hand fighting. I can get why it's flagged, but it's not one where it's really affected anything. That it didn't affect
let them play. Let them play.
Exactly that. I mean, we all remember Holland against Spain in the final in the Euros a few years ago.
Yes.
762 euro. I think nearly everyone got booked on that game. But yeah, it was an outstanding. Where do you rate this Super Bowl? How do you think compared to like Super Bowls in the last decade, over over the last 59. I mean, obviously, we've not seen all 59 of them. None of us are old enough to watch all 59 of them live. But how do
Not
we
even
rate
you.
it?
I mean, you can't really rate it as an all-time great because of how one-sided it was. Yeah. So I would put it anywhere between like 40 to 59. No, seriously, in terms of like the grand scheme of things, because you can't say it's a great. I mean, it was the result and the performance that I dreamt of. But
We all did.
you,
Apart from
you
Kansas City
can't
fans.
say it's like a great Super Bowl. It's not like, say, recent memory, Colts and Saints, or Giants and Pats, or what else we got? Huh?
Ravens, Niners.
Falcons against Pats.
Yeah, Seahawks, Patriots. Like that's like in recent times. Oh, Packers,
Last year.
Steelers back in 2010. You know, those were
Was
like
it
really.
Steelers, Arizona? No, that wasn't a Super Bowl. That was the NFC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
No,
you know, I mean, you can even argue the 49er game last year as well, even though, you know, we lost. It literally was almost like a shootout that went to overtime, and it was, you know, it was a garbage time play in overtime. You could argue that was one of the all-time greats, but yeah, it can't be. It will be known as the game that, you know, the Chiefs blew. You know, their moment for immortality, and they drank from the wrong chalice.
Exactly.
Nice.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of very confused African T-shirts at home unless they're thinking how the Chiefs three-peat when the Niners and the Eagles T-shirts winning last 2 years.
I can't believe you said that, but okay, go on.
Mr. Harris, how do you rank it? Where do you put it in your Super Bowl?
Phil, why is he still doing it? It's been almost 4 years. He's still getting us confused. Look, fat and Welsh, attractive and Northern. What? How are you not getting this?
I mean, he's not Northern. He lives in Luton.
I don't live in Luton.
To me. It's north to me. I don't live in Luton.
I don't even live in Luton. Listeners, do not believe this man. He's senile and jobless. We don't really know what he's doing.
I'm not jobless.
Who, me?
Not you, lad. Nice. You're not. You might be one, but you're not the other. Like, you know, Hendo's in his midlife crisis, and you know, he's currently he's on his way to being jobless next week.
Stop
telling people that. You got a mortgage to pay. Shut up.
Thank God I can edit this video.
Anyway, pretty much. Okay, fine. Yeah, pretty much going to echo Phil's sentiments. This was the game that will be on America's Game in years to come, and it will be known as the game the Chiefs blew. And me, speaking as a fan of the other 31 teams, I couldn't be happier.
I actually, for the first time in a long time, I'm actually wanting to watch America's Game this season then. Because I would love to see it from an Eagles point of view of having like the wind in their sails and kind of going into the Super Bowl of like, oh, we're playing the great Patrick Mahomes, Willie three-peat. How amazing is Andy Reid? And then Deontay Sweat just goes out there and murders them.
I mean, there is an image going around on social media. It went around Monday, I think it was, where you got Jalen Hurts walking past the TV screen and all the predictions going, Chiefs, 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 Chiefs,
yeah.
Chiefs, Chiefs, and him just go, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's just motivation. It is. I mean, for me personally, I'm not going to quite rate it as low as you guys because I mean, defensively, the Eagles put on a defensive masterclass. It wasn't literally until the last quarter where they dragged out all their starters. Where it's like, that's fine. We'll let you have a couple of garbage touchdowns. That's fine. I mean, they're great throws to Worthy, and Worthy took them in and ran them in perfectly.
Imagine if he would have done that in, you know, when it mattered.
Or when he was, yeah, I mean, it's not unworthy though, is it really? But
no. I'm saying that's more on like, I mean, Xavier Worthy still had to like run the routes and everything, but like, imagine if Patrick Mahomes would have done that and the offensive line would have blocked that when it mattered. You know, I see where you're coming from. The defensive masterclass was amazing, but then we're still going on to the fact that it was a domination, and you know, it's entertaining for a minority. Not entertaining for, you know, I guess for like the majority because of just how dominant.
As a viewer, I didn't realize how quick the game went.
Yes.
I mean, for me, that shows how much I was enjoying the game. It went really quick. I didn't feel tired. Didn't have a nana nap in the middle of the afternoon. I carried on. That's Kelly. I managed to go through the
Yes,
whole
it
way
is.
to
Yes, it is.
and I didn't feel tired. I generally really enjoying the game, and I thought it was absolutely on the money. And one more thing, really quickly. Nick says we were saved.
Yes, Nick. I love Nick. Nice lad.
Right. I listened to New Heights today. Are we seeing the end of Travis Kelce? He said he's kicking the thoughts of that process down the road. It's being kicked down the road. What do you think? Is it the end of Kelce?
Yes.
Does he need to play anymore? Sorry, Phil. Go on, bud. Carry on.
Sorry. I thought it would have been best if he would have gone out the same time as his brother. I thought that would have been quite nice and pivotal. But he's held on for an extra for an extra year. Sorry, I should say 2 years, because like when they played in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I don't know. I think maybe being Mrs. Taylor Swift might almost be like the equivalent of being Camilla Parker Bowles or the Duke of Edinburgh kind of like thing, where it is just the tag on, like the tag along, because her being the most recognizable superstar in the world, and her superstar sport athlete boyfriend, Travis Kelce. I think that's possibly taking its toll, being in the media spotlight on a not just a national level but a worldwide level all the time. And also, Father Time is undefeated. He's in his 30s now. He's the same age as me. Yeah. And I think I don't think I could play at that particular. I mean, I don't anyway. But like, it's it takes its toll.
Oh, you're an athlete, boy. You're an athlete, mind. You're an athlete.
Oh no, I know. But like, still, I'm not like a high pristine athlete. I'm a educator. I do all my lifting in the classroom with grades,
not true,
let alone
muscle. Not true. You also do a job on the pitch with your retro Newcastle keeper jerseys on.
I do actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone's great. Don't much about you.
I think it's time. And I saw today that the Chiefs are giving him till the 14th of March. Is it the 14th or the 11th of March for his decision? But
the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I mean, just go out. I mean, you're not going out as a champion, but you're going out as a 3-time Super Bowl winning champion.
I mean, as you were saying on New Heights this week, that over the last 5 seasons, he's probably played 15 more games than majority of the NFL. So he's played pretty much a season more than majority of the NFL, because they keep getting to the SC games, the Super Bowl games. So he's played an extra season, and he's not one of these ones who gets injured. He doesn't miss many games. He's a fairly fit, guy, and he's healthy, and he doesn't get injured, so he doesn't miss many games.
Yeah, so, I also think, in terms of like how he plays a tight end position, he is not like a George Kittle or even like a Mark Andrews in that respect that does a lot of blocking. He does a lot of offensive line stuff. Travis Kelce basically plays as a glorified wide receiver. And again, not knocking him, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Like I'm not, but I think how his gameplay is, he hasn't really needed to overexert himself for a long period of time. He's obviously in great shape. He's a great athlete. You don't get it to the NFL. You don't continue to be in the NFL for over 10 years. You don't get to win 3 Super Bowls unless you're a top tier elite level athlete, which he is. But I do think maybe time, call it time. You don't want to tarnish, your legacy. You don't want to end up like Aaron Rodgers or Ben Roethlisberger or Brett Favre that just held on for the sake of it.
In the 10 seasons he's played, how many games do you reckon he's missed?
11.
Harris?
Yeah, probably the same 10, 11, I imagine so.
It's single figures, and it's half what
is it?
It's 4. He's missed 4 games in 10 years. That's the regular season. That is outstanding, considering it's an incredibly physical position. That is incredibly outstanding. Right, let's roll on. We do have some other little bits and pieces.
This is the news in 60.
But I'm not going to read the headlines because, yeah. Let's start with the Steelers being designated home team in Ireland next year, where it's going to be placed in Croke Park. Let's start with Mr. Harris.
Do we have to? No. I don't want him anywhere near me. I don't want him closer to me. Get away. Stay in your dump in Pittsburgh. I don't want him anywhere near me. But in all honesty, as we say about all of the games, I don't want a media pass. I don't want him anywhere near me. No, but I'd rather go and watch the Lincroft Titans, and that's a shoot, brother. Right? But what I'm saying is, it's again, as we always say, play as many games in many different places as possible. Expand the sport that we love. It's good for Ireland. Good for Britain. Good for the sport. It's brilliant.
So the Rooney family, who own the Steelers, are Irish.
Oh, with a name like that, yeah, that sounds about right.
They migrated from Ireland. I can't remember when. I've read all about it, heard something about it. I'm not surprised. Steelers came over in 97. They played Chicago Bears in 97 and beat them in Ireland. They are Ireland. They're a massive franchise over there. The biggest team in Ireland is the Steelers. What do you think of it, Mr. Perrins?
I think it's perfect sense. And we're going away from like the National Football League to almost like the World Football League, and you're going to have certain
International Football League.
You're also going to get certain countries that are going to be associated with certain teams. San Francisco being synonymous with Hispanics. Them playing in Mexico makes perfect sense. Or like in South America. Jacksonville, Tony Khan owns the Fulham football team. So it makes sense that they come over here quite a lot. The Patriots, in 1944, America invaded Germany. So it makes perfect sense that the Patriots. It makes perfect sense that the Patriots would be welcomed in Germany.
I love that.
So so it makes perfect sense that I think we are going to move towards countries that are going to be associated and synonymous with certain teams. The Irish going home, to play in Ireland, makes perfect sense, and we're just slowly getting to an 18 game regular season where every team is going to be expected to play one international series.
Yeah, agreed. In the grand scheme of things, yes, it sucks for the players, it sucks for the organization. It's a big win for the fans, and that's ultimately where I think the priorities need to shift to be more fan orientated, because it is a game for the fans. It's a game for the people. We say this about our football. It belongs to everyone. So if we can get our little piece of it once, twice, 3 times a season over in mainland Europe, that is amazing for just the build of the sport, not just like the fandoms. Completely.
It still blows my mind. I've seen 2 NFL games in person, and one was my favorite team. It still blows my absolute mind.
I won't tell you how many I've seen in person.
All right, show off. No one likes to show off.
Hey man, I've seen Sam Bradford play. All right, that's how long I've been going.
I've seen Gardner Minshew play twice.
Oh,
the same team.
Jealous.
No,
exactly.
Super jealous.
I've seen Minshew play once. I saw him play for the Jags.
I went to see.
Ollie, not being funny. You'd probably be pulling pints on your local before long now.
Right.
I've seen Kaepernick play as well.
Yeah, me. I've seen Cap play as well for San Fran.
Yeah, against Jacksonville, against Blake Bortles.
Yeah, that was a good game.
Yeah, no, it was really one-sided. I loved it.
Right. So the only way that Keelan Moore was allowed to go back to Philadelphia is if he signed on the dotted line to become the Saints' new head coach. What do we make of this, Mr. Harris?
I think it's a really good pickup. The fact that you're taking him from the newly crowned Super Bowl champions, who, let's be fair, they played really well, 14-3. Their coordinators basically outcoached probably one of the best coaches ever in Super Bowl history, in Andy Reid. I think it's an inspired pickup, and let's be fair, at the moment the Saints are a bit rubbish. So anything better than Dennis Allen, anything a little bit better than Dennis Allen is a really good decision.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them cutting Derek Carr because they're 51 million in cap deficit. They're massive problems there. I mean, I hope they give him a few years to try and sort this rubbish out because, oh my God, he's going to need it. But once they realize that in Philadelphia that the run game is the way forward, oh, we can do that, and they've got an incredibly good running back in Kamara in New Orleans. They could go down that route quite happily. They just need a quarterback who is serviceable and could do it. Mr. Perrins, what's your feeling on it?
I kind of half agree with Shane. It's an inspired pick if they give him time. And, you know, NFL tenures for coaches is getting smaller and smaller. We've said before on the show, 3 years is a good time to give to a new coach to an organization because you get them enough time for free agency, enough time for the draft, enough time implementing what they want their philosophy to be.
Yeah.
And if he's not given that time, and if he's not given the opportunity to rebuild with, new players, youngsters, great up and coming coaches, the Saints will continue to flounder, and the Saints will continue to not be a respectable organization, despite us being quite close with the Saints GM at this time.
I was asking if you get him
it's
online.
also alarming that they took so long to appoint. I mean, I know in the grand scheme of things, the Chiefs were still in the Super Bowl, and other things that were going on, but it took. I found that was really, really odd. While other teams were playing like hungry hippos, approaching and signing coaches.
That is.
Yeah, but it still felt like the Saints were, still asleep or still, enjoying their holidays after Christmas. That's what it kind of felt like. But hopefully, that the Saints will look to bounce. But I think Derek Carr might find himself in New York next year.
That's a very good segue, considering the Jets have informed Mr. Rogers that they are going to move in another direction. What do you think is a good decision? Do you reckon it's the right decision?
I found it really disingenuous on their Twitter feed where they said, "Thank you, Aaron, for 2 great years," and I was like, he played one series against the Bills in his first year before he lost, before he got injured and missed out the rest of the season. And then he's been wildly ineffective and then was dropped. So how many games did he actually play for the Jets? Was it maybe 7 or 8?
Good question. Well presented.
Because I just found that tweet really disingenuous, and I'll show you guys later, and I'll screenshot it, and I'll tweet off our account just to kind of show.
He played 17 games last year.
He didn't play 17 games.
According to ESPN, he played 17 games last season.
No, he didn't.
He even rushed 17
No.
times.
Yeah.
I know he was benched midway through one of the games, but he played the next game. And I think that benching was the reason going, yeah, we're done. We don't, 2023 season, we don't know what was going to happen. We don't know if we were going to see the Aaron Rodgers of MVP take him to the playoffs, to the Holy Grail, where New York have been wanting to go, where they expected to go with him. But that injury and then being how old, his age, not how old he is because he's still younger than me, which is a bit worrying. His age and Father Time catching up with him. It reminded me a lot of Drew Brees' last season.
Yeah.
Where, you still got the arm length, but your processing was a bit slower and your mobility wasn't as good. And all
I'll go one step further. I actually don't think he was throwing that well in his last season. I think he was actually getting shorter and shorter in terms of. I think the closest comparison, and it's so weird to say this, Hendo, but hear me out. it was almost like watching the end of Brett Favre.
Ooh.
Because he was broken down. He wasn't anywhere near how good he was. 1-2 hits too many. 1-2 injuries too many.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't making the right decision. Like, the mind was there. Like, he could still play the game. He could still analyze the game, but just becoming like half a second slower every year catches up to you when you've overstayed your welcome for 5-6 years, essentially. And I think Brett Favre's legacy has been hindered by his off-field issues, where he was allegedly involved in some alleged, illegal tax breaks. Whilst I think Aaron Rodgers' legacy will be hit more of his peculiar personality as a player, and I do. I think he'll go to one more team. I think he's got one more season left in him.
There is. What, 6-7 teams QB needy?
Yeah, but I also think he's going to want to go into a team where the pieces are already there. He's not going to go in like a Tom Brady, and Tom Brady essentially became GM for 2 years.
He tried. He
tried in New York, and it didn't quite work. But I think he's going to want to go somewhere where they're one QB away from hitting an NFC or AFC championship. And that list becomes even smaller because
almost like Peyton Manning in his last year in Denver.
Yeah, he's going to need a team to carry him. And I don't really know off the top of my head, he's the odds of him going to San Francisco are getting shorter and shorter. But I can't see San Francisco reportedly paying 45 to 60 million for Brock Purdy's extension, and then bringing in Aaron Rodgers.
So Aaron Rodgers this year is due $38.5 million.
Yeah.
Unless they cut it. Well, they are going to cut him before the 14th of March.
100%.
They are still going to take some kind of cap. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's plenty of QB needy teams out there. There's a couple in the north that need a couple. New York do need one, but obviously they're going to go with somewhere else. But there's
who could we see him going to? We could see him Indy, Tennessee, Cleveland, maybe. Yeah, we said that at the same time. Hell, why not? Why not Vegas? They're going to need a QB.
Yeah, I mean him and Tom Brady have got a respect for each other.
Yes, absolutely, and it's actually quite devastating that we never saw a prime Rodgers against a prime Tom Brady Super Bowl. That would have been an all-timer. I mean, the closest we've ever had is Marino Montana in '84. So that would have been such an amazing feat to see. But I think maybe Vegas might be a really, really good option because they're going to move on from Minshew. I still don't think O'Connell is long-term. He'll be a good backup to have, but I don't think he's long-term. And they do have small pieces.
Pete Carroll. I mean, he's a sensible guy.
Oh my God, yes. And I completely forgot about that.
He's a sensible guy. He's going to know that this year's draft class for QBs isn't the best. Next year's going to be better when you've got possibly likes of Arch Manning and people like that going in. Yeah. I would possibly Las Vegas probably is a shout, maybe a 2-year heavy loaded contract because they've got quite a big cap space. Okay. I think we are done for today's show, Mr. Perrins. Thank you very much.
Before we break up, one thing that we actually haven't touched, and I hoped it would come up naturally, but it has been making the rounds, especially today, and some of the news that I was looking at. Tom Brady's debut as a Super Bowl commentator. I don't think in the booth is his long-term place. I don't think he's got it as a commentator.
No, he hasn't got that Romo, Greg Olsen kind of flair and natural ability about it. God, I would love to see Jules or Gronk in it. I mean, Nate Borson is a brilliant in the booth as well. I know that's years from being GMT Good Morning Football, but yeah, I mean, I'm not as against him in the booth as so many other people were because I think he's actually fairly good in the booth.
And I think the only reason why people are against Tom Brady in the booth is because he is come in more or less fresh. He's been given the highest, contract for a color commentator, and his first year as a commentator, he's announcing the Super Bowl. I mean, we shouldn't knock Tom Brady. We should knock the people that are willing to do that for him, and throw that type of money at him. But I don't. He's there because of his name. He's there because he's Tom Brady. He's not there because of his charisma. Now, if we're basing a color commentator by their credentials, Tony Romo would be nowhere near that booth. But Tony Romo just had that insight. He gets it. He gets talking about. He can talk about football live on L really, really well. He's a nice Midwestern guy. He can articulate.
He really well. Jim Nantz. Him and Jim Nantz have got a brilliant connection.
Greg Olson, I quite like. In fact, I just hate. Oh God, why has my mind gone blank? Troy Aikman. I think Troy Aikman's probably the worst. I hate listening to Troy Aikman. I find him ridiculously insufferable and unintelligent. But I think Tom is a very mid-level tier commentator, and I also think maybe he might realize that being an owner / GM for the team that he part owns might be his way forward. And we've seen certain quarterbacks or certain players go into different kind of roles once they retired. I mean, O.J. Simpson became a movie star. Michael Strahan became a TV presenter. OC and Jay Bell do stuff on Sky Sports. And, Tom Brady going into ownership, well, he's rich enough and he's competitive enough. He's essentially like the David Beckham of like the NFL in terms of like that older statesman that owns a sports club kind of like vibe. And I think
David Beckham.
Hmm?
He's just got a better voice than David Beckham.
It's got a better voice than David Beckham, but does he have a better body than David Beckham? Because David Beckham on Instagram was releasing pictures of himself in his new underwear modeling.
I haven't seen that one. And
I'll share it to you later, mate. It'll actually make you feel really incompetent as a man. Like, oh my God, David, what? Just let me have a day. Just let me have a day where I'm not literally burning in your light.
And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to call it a night on this podcast. Thank you very much for viewing, watching, listening. Hopefully there'll be 4 of us by the end of the show next week. Shane's had some internet issues at home, and Baby Hope may have a ring on his finger. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, good night and stay safe.